How we doing, folks? So today we're going to talk about bringing those pentatonic licks to life. I think a lot of you probably already know what a pentatonic scale is, but let's review it real quick. So a pentatonic scale is a slimmed down version of the full parent scale, right? We have major and minor. A minor pentatonic scale is a full minor scale, except it's missing the second and the sixth. A major pentatonic scale is a major scale, but it's missing the fourth and the seventh. So we're going to be talking about these in G. I like teaching with G and learning scales. In G, all the notes are going to be natural except F in our major scale. Don't worry too much about that if you haven't learned about the circle of fifths. We can cover that in another lesson. So many of you probably know this shape already. So if we're in G minor pentatonic, we have 1, 4, 1, 3. For frets, that's 6, 3, 6, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 6, 3. For the minor, our first position in the major scale, major pentatonic, is, say we're starting on B flat, which is the relative major. We're going to have 6, 8, 5, 8, 5, 8, 5, 7, 6, 8, 6, 8. So the first thing to really bring our pentatonic licks to life is approach learning the scale differently. We can oftentimes get stuck in these boxes because we only learn scales vertically, right? We need to think about them horizontally, backwards, and every which way throughout the entire fretboard. A great way to start this is learning what I like to call sliding scales or horizontal scales. So if we're in G major, and follow with me real quick, we're going to play a sliding scale in G major pentatonic. And this pattern is awesome. It's very symmetrical, and it works great over all those major sounding songs. It's going to be 3, 5, slide to the 7, 5, 7 on the A string, drop down to the D string, 5, 7, slide, drop down to the G string, 7, 9, and then we're going to drop down the B string and we're going to shift everything up a half step. So that's going to give us 8, 10 on the B string. We're going to slide up to the 12th. On the E string, we're going to play 10, 12, and then we slide all the way up to the 15th G to reach the root note. So as you may have noticed, this scale follows a pattern. It's basically, we have 2 notes, a slide, 2 notes on the next string, 2 notes on a slide on the string below, 2 notes, 2 notes and a slide. So this scale works awesome playing over acoustic songs, really any major song, more Grateful Dead sounding songs. Very lyrical as well. It's a great scale to learn. If you haven't learned the major pentatonic scale, I'd recommend starting with this one and learn this shape. Eventually, we're going to want to learn all of our shapes vertically across the fretboard. And eventually, you will be able to see how this shape connects to the rest. So moving on to minor. If we are in G minor pentatonic, on the E string it's going to be 3, 6, slide up our pinky to the 8, 5, 8 on the A string, slide up. 8, 10. On the D string, slide up to the 12th. Move to the G string. Play 10 and 12. We move to the B string. Slide up to the 14th. Then we move to the E string and play 12th and 14th. So I strongly encourage you to, study all these shapes, but a very important thing to realize is our relative major and minor. It's easy to get lost with pentatonics and get overwhelmed by all the different shapes. But if we really just fundamentally understand relative major and minor, it's going to minimize memorization. So for those who have never studied music theory or intervals before, I'm going to give a quick rundown. Intervals are the space between two notes. So as we move up, each half step, whole step, there's new intervals, right? So 1 half step, minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, and so on. So relative major and minor, for example, if we are in the key of C, our relative minor of C is A minor. It's a minor third below its major parent, right? For guitar, a minor third is 3 half steps, which means it's 3 frets. So I always like to use the saying, 3 frets down, mess around. A lot of us probably already know this minor pentatonic shape. The cool thing is that you can actually use this in a major scenario. You just have to start on the third of the minor key, or you can think about it like it's 3 frets above the minor key, or 3 frets below the major key. So for example, say we are still in G minor. We'd be playing this shape over a G minor pentatonic, right? Its relative major is a B flat, 3 frets up. So we can use that same shape over a B flat major chord progression. And you'll start to realize, better other shapes will work better in major and minor, and there still is a difference, but it's the same exact notes for relative major and minor. So a G minor pentatonic has the same notes as a B flat major pentatonic. It's just all about what note we start on. So now that we've covered that, I strongly encourage you to, go through and learn all those shapes. Remember the relative major and minor, because it cuts the shapes down in half. You just have to remember that if you're learning a major shape, it's going to work just the same in a minor key that is 3 half steps or 3 frets below it. Awesome. Now let's move on to the more fun stuff. So we have minor and major pentatonic, but blues notes are what's really going to give it spice, right? I'm sure you've heard the... The classic blues note is a flat 5, right? Or over here. But blues note can really be any note before or after the note in a scale. So even with your minor pentatonic shapes that you may be comfortable with, you can make them sound more jazzy and interesting by adding in blues notes. So it's the difference between, versus. So utilize that to your advantage. You know, you never want to stay on a blues note for too long. Think of them more as passing tones and in between. So add in our flat 5 blues notes for minor and major, and they're going to really enable us to not only play over blues progressions, but add into so many other genres, rock, jazz, you name it. So, and then another aspect that we can, you know, implement into our soloing and into these scales is what's called chromaticism, or chromatics. And basically a chromatic scale is just every note in the musical alphabet, right? There's 12 half steps. But for us, when we're in these, you know, shapes, it's basically we can just add in passing tones in between. So say we're going back to our sliding G major pentatonic scale. You can add in little rolls with chromatic notes to give it more flavor. So always keep that in mind. Even though we may be stuck to these shapes, there's actually a lot of other notes that we can utilize.